All right, so let's jump right in. Today we're looking at Sheffield, and it's a city that really tells this fascinating, almost contradictory story. A perfect example of what happens when a place tries to completely reinvent itself. You've got this incredible regeneration on one side, but on the other, some really deep-rooted challenges.
And this right here is the central puzzle of Sheffield. So on the one hand, you've got this reputation as one of the UK's greenest cities. We're talking 61% green space. It's beautiful. But then you flip the coin, and a full quarter of the population lives in some of the most deprived areas in all of England. How can both of these things be true at the same time? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so let's start with the good news, the success story. Because after its world-famous steel industry pretty much collapsed, Sheffield had to forge a completely new economy. Literally.
And wow, you can see just how dramatic that change was. I mean, the city went from being the capital of steel, right, all powered by industrial labor, to this modern economy built on things like advanced manufacturing, healthcare, and digital tech. The whole workforce basically shifted from the factory floor to the office and the lab, a total transformation.
So, what was a massive engine driving all this change? You might be surprised. It was the students. We're talking over 60,000 of them. And for a city Sheffield's size, that is a huge number. And it has an absolutely massive economic impact.
Now you might think, oh, it's just about the money they spend on rent and pizza, right? But it's so much more than that. The city's 2 universities pump out this constant stream of skilled graduates. And that talent pool, it acts like a magnet for new businesses, especially high-tech companies. They see the talent and they want in. That brings investment, which creates more jobs. You see how it works? It's this powerful, virtuous cycle of growth.
But, and this is a big but, that's only one side of the coin. The shadow of that old steel industry, it's incredibly long, and it left behind these deep, stubborn problems that all this new growth hasn't been able to completely fix.
So to really get why these problems are so sticky, we need to talk about this economic idea called the negative multiplier effect. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Think of it like a domino effect. When a huge industry like steel collapses, the damage doesn't just stop when the factory gates close for the last time. Oh no, it ripples out and affects the entire community.
And here's how those dominoes fall, one by one. First, boom, mass job losses. The steel industry vanishes. Then what happens? Skilled workers have to pack up and leave to find work somewhere else. That's depopulation. So now you've got abandoned factories and empty houses, a landscape of decay, really. And the final domino. Those areas get stuck in this vicious cycle of urban deprivation, a loop of poverty and no investment that is just so hard to break out of.
And this is what brings us right back to that shocking number from the beginning, that 25%, a quarter of the city. This isn't some new issue. It is the direct, lasting scar from that domino effect that started all those years ago.
And here's where things get even more complicated. This legacy isn't just stuck in the past. It crashes right into the pressures of being a modern, growing city, and that collision creates a whole new set of challenges for today.
So you've got this weird situation where, even as parts of the city are booming, that very success creates its own headaches. High demand for housing? That means soaring prices and rent. A thriving economy? Well, that means 150,000 people trying to get into the city for work every single day. You can just imagine the traffic and the air quality that comes with it. And then there's the city's geography. It's built on rivers and in valleys, which makes it beautiful, but also incredibly vulnerable to things like flooding.
And trust me, that risk isn't just a what-if scenario. It is very real. Back in 2007, they had these devastating floods, and over 5,000 properties were hit. It's this constant threat that kind of hangs over the city's head every time it rains.
So where does that leave us? What are we supposed to make of all this? The story of Sheffield, it's not a simple case of good or bad, success or failure. It's really the story of a city performing this constant, really difficult balancing act.
And this slide, it really sums it all up, doesn't it? The two sides of the Sheffield coin. On one side, you've got these incredible opportunities, a brand new high-tech economy, all that vibrant energy from the student population, and yet that amazing green space. But you flip it over and you see the challenges. That deep legacy of inequality, the constant pressure on housing and roads, and some very real environmental dangers.
And you know, this quote here really just nails the key takeaway. What Sheffield shows us is that even really successful regeneration, it can't completely wipe the slate clean. The ghost of that negative multiplier effect, it's still there. It's still shaping the city, and it's creating two totally different realities for the people who live there.
And that leaves us with a really big question, one that goes way beyond just Sheffield.
For cities all over the world that are trying to reinvent themselves, how do you do it right? How can you build this thriving, modern future without leaving entire communities behind? How do you make sure progress doesn't just strand people in the past?